And I think that is probably why I'm here today with the following that I have, because I spent all my creative energies in there. It was like exciting. And I'm like, every day was I was thinking of things and what can I do next? And I was like so into it.
Practice dealing with your anxiety and practice like your coping skills so that when you're there, you don't just get really overwhelmed.
You're not on social media to please your friends, to please your family, to show off who you are. You are on social media so that the people who need you for whatever your expertise is can find you. We're back, and today I'm going to challenge Juli even more about her comedy experience and stand-up journey. That is what's happening today.
Part 2.
Today. So the reason I want to bring it up is just a few days ago, as of us recording this, she did perform stand-up in New York City at the Triad Theater on the Upper West Side, to the tune of how many people in the audience? Probably almost 100, I'm going to say. I would say, yeah.
Really?
Yeah, there was at least, let's say 80. I mean, it was, you had 40 people alone there just for you. So, and then there was other people there for other comedians. Okay. So it was a good sized audience. So I'm going to first ask you thoughts on like a debrief after the experience, and then we'll go back and we'll talk about leading up to it. All right.
Yeah. Well, I think where we left off on the last podcast, like where we talked about the stand-up journey, was I was performing that night again in LA.
Oh, right.
And that show was it wasn't bad, but it wasn't great.
Okay. And why do you feel that way?
I learned a lot. So I'm reframing how I feel about the show. Because afterwards I was really not happy with how it went. And I feel like I learned a lot. So I learned basically like did this show. My teacher for my stand-up class invited me to it. I got to the show. He wasn't there. He was like out. And that was like, first moment of holy shit. Because like the one person I was supposed to know at this event isn't there. And it's only my second time performing. And I was just really stressed out. And like, I have a lot of anxiety in a lot of ways. Like I prepare for things with my anxiety is like finding comfort in the things that I'm comfortable with, that I know that I can plan for.
Yeah, and lean on.
Right. And like him not being there was like the first like, oh shit moment. And then I just felt major imposter syndrome vibes because I was like sitting in the green room with everybody and everyone's been doing this for years and they're at the show and I'm like, oh my God, like what the fuck am I doing here? Like I don't belong here. Everybody else is way more experienced and way more funnier than I was. Way more funny.
Grammar queen coming in hot.
And then I watched too many comics do their set before I got up. The venue wasn't like my preferred style. Like, I don't know. I just learned a lot. The stage was like so small and I like to walk around and be physical and animated and I couldn't really do that. People were like eating dinner. It was more just like a sideshow and everyone else was like hanging out. So and I didn't think my jokes landed that well. Like I got laughs. It wasn't crickets, but it also wasn't great. And then I started doing a lot more open mics to like prep new material. And I really don't like the open mics.
Yeah,
I'm going to say it.
Yeah, go ahead.
I don't like the open mics experience, especially like being someone who has a lot of anxiety. It's awful. Like it's so annoying because it's something I have to do. Kind of something you got to do it to like get the reps in essentially. But I just feel like it hasn't gotten easier. And I've probably gone to like almost a dozen open mics now at this point since
Wow, that's a good amount.
Yeah, I've gone to a lot because especially I was going at least like once or twice a week for like 6 weeks. So I've been to a lot of open mics now and I just feel like every time it's really anxiety inducing because no one talks about this either. If there was a podcast about open mics, I would be more prepared. But from my experience, it's like you sign up for these, it's like $5 for 5 minutes or whatever, and you go, and it's all the other comics who are also trying to work out their material. So they're like half paying attention to who's on stage. They're not really laughing. They're not your target audience, but you still go up and you do your set, and it's like very disheartening and discouraging when like nobody laughs. And you're like, well, this got laughs last week at a show, but it's fucking crickets in here.
Right.
So this is like a learning curve. And
you almost have to think about it like a practice room.
I almost liked. Yeah, it's like a practice room, but people are there.
You know what they should do, which would be really funny actually, is to have like a laugh track play.
Yeah, just put on my phone my own laugh track.
You land a joke and then you have a laugh track.
I was thinking about that when I practiced to just like do that.
It'd be so funny. That's a great idea. Just because you will get more comfortable or confident and feel like instead of this, because it's true there, it's almost like being in a piano practice room by yourself and you don't have an audience there.
I mean, I've gone now to more and I do get some chuckles, you know, so I'm like, okay, I got a chuckle. That's going to do good in a packed house. You know, one chuckle equals like 20 laughs in an actual show.
That's funny.
But everyone's like always really nice.
You should just bring me to the open mics. I'll chuckle right through everything.
And yeah, so haven't been great, but I know it's like a part of the journey is like going to these, and it's helpful. It's like you get, I don't know, it's helpful and it's not helpful, because now once I was coming to New York for a couple weeks, I was like, I definitely want to do a show out here so that I can perform for all the family and friends and everybody who's here, because, you know, in LA, I just moved there. I don't really have a network yet, but everyone is here. So I was like, I'm going to do a show. And I booked the show and I started doing like a bunch of open mics in LA to like prepare and writing a lot of material and just, you know, doing it. And I was getting so nervous for the show because like my only last reference points from performing were the bad show and all the shitty open mics that I've gone to. So I was like, am I even funny? Like, I don't know if any of this is going to land. Like, it landed at my first performance that went really well, but didn't land at my second one, and it didn't land at like any open mics. So I'm like, I think going into it, I was petrified that like nobody was going to laugh. And then it went really well.
Went really well. Well, you had there was such good energy there, number one.
Yeah.
The place was really nicely arranged. So your audience was all in front of you, whereas at the previous one, it was a very wide. And it was like a side-to-side audience versus a in front of you up
and
kind of in rows.
And it was so spread out because everyone was at like dinner tables. So it was like,
this was a much nicer venue.
And it wasn't even that many people. I think maybe it was like 40 people tops, like honestly.
This was at the Triad Theater in New York now coming up. So it was, everything was right in front of you. Your audience was more or less stacked. It was dark in the audience, so you weren't able to see. So let's talk about that a little.
Well, we can talk about the day of was very difficult. I think now that I have a good reference point of like a good show under my belt again. So now I'm like, I have more good shows under my belt than bad shows. Open mics, I'm just going to not count as like being good or bad. And they're neutral.
Just practice. They're practice rooms, period.
So nervous. Like the few things I learned at the second show that went really bad was I ate a really big meal beforehand. And that was a humongous mistake because I was so bloated. I had to like hold down. I was like trying not to burp while I was like on stage.
Pleasant.
I know. But like I learned like not to eat a humongous meal beforehand. I learned not to watch like all the other comics beforehand and like, you know.
Start to judge yourself or question
just like,
yourself.
You know, walk through my set, but I don't have to like rehearse it a million times or else, you know. I knew I had it memorized. Anyway, so I learned a bunch of things that I applied to this show, which I think really helped. In addition, like I had therapy the week before and I was talking to my therapist about it and she was like, what are you doing to practice? And I was like, well, I'm rehearsing my stuff. She's like, well, you should also practice like how you're going to cope with your anxiety.
Oh, wow,
like,
that's smart.
While you're there, if you know you're going to be anxious, like how are you going to practice dealing with your anxiety and practice like your coping skills so that when you're there, you don't just get really overwhelmed. And that was very helpful. So like the day of, I was doing a lot of like breathing exercises around the house. I got the Calm app a few weeks earlier because I couldn't sleep and I was trying to listen to like sleep meditations, but then I found they had like a performance meditation. So I listened to that. And I feel like that was really helpful, just preparing my anxiety to perform.
Right. Exactly. More than your performance
and I
itself.
think that really helped because then a part of it was like also visualizing like having a good performance and visualizing being on stage and visualize like the feeling of doing well and all that stuff. So now I feel like I have a really good like preparation rhythm, and hopefully next time I won't be as nervous because I just like couldn't do anything all day.
Right, it was really hard.
You know?
I couldn't either. By the way,
no one could do anything.
I wasn't even getting up there. I was like, I can't. I'm going to throw up.
But then getting to the show and sitting in the green room, and it was really nice because the whole show was like all women. There was like 2-3 guys that performed and then there was like 6 or 7 or even 8 women, and that was really nice because a lot of the shows I've done in LA, it's always a lot of men. It's just like
that's a nice change.
Girl power. I don't know. Everyone's very
the lead comic was a woman, so that helped.
Everyone's very like chatty, and you know, it wasn't like it was a very like communal
supportive
support. It was like being in the girls' bathroom.
Oh, I like that.
That's what it was like.
I love that reference.
Before the show.
Good.
And it was funny because none of the guys who performed hung out in the green room.
Oh.
I don't know if they just like were like too much, whatever. But
there was too much, what do you call it, estrogen or something in the room, and they had to leave.
So that was nice because it was just like, it felt like more of a supportive group. I don't know, it just felt like more supportive. So that was that. And then I think going up and...
Did you like that you had to walk through the crowd to get to the stage?
I kind of liked that.
That was kind of cool.
That was kind of fun. And I saw Steven right before. Like, I was able to get his attention, so I like saw him right before, which was like very comforting because I didn't know where anybody was in the audience. And then when I got to the stage, couldn't see anybody's faces. I could only see the front row. And one of my friends was in the front row, Natalie, and she was the only person I really could like see. And if I was ever getting stressed, I would kind of like look at her for like
because the lighting was more on
moment.
her. Even Colleen was there, but the lighting wasn't on her. So,
but like provided a good grounding moment. And I vaguely knew where like you guys were. I vaguely knew where Tommy was. I knew where Steven was. So like vaguely knew my points, but it's like as soon as I got on stage and I had the microphone, like all of my nerves like disappeared, and I truly felt like I was like in a state of flow. Like I didn't even have to think about like the next joke, except for when Jonathan.
All right, so Jonathan
interrupted.
For those of you who know Jonathan, he is my middle child, autistic, and he is very, very into this idea of Juli doing comedy.
He's very into the idea of me cursing on stage.
Yes,
with a microphone.
He loves when she does a bad word, says a bad word. He laughs the loudest. He enjoyed every comedian. He was laughing the loudest, having a great time. So it was great that he was there. He's so excited to see you on stage. He was so impressed. But
there's one joke he really likes because I talk about growing up in an ingredients household, and I say, I talk about what an ingredients household is, and I said if I want a dessert, I would have a big scoop, like a handful of chocolate chips and a big fucking scoop of imagination. And
so he knew that joke from the last.
He knew the line from my first set, and he's probably, knowing him, he's probably watched it like 18 times on YouTube, so he has it memorized. And the thing about doing stand-up comedy is you leave like pauses for effect.
Right.
And during my big pause, he screamed, I said, and if you don't know what an ingredients household is, if I wanted dessert, I would have, and he went, a handful of chocolate chips. And I was like, oh my God, I like internally wanted to crumble into a million pieces and die.
Yeah. But it was like in that moment, I saw you and I'm like, first of all, I was comforted by the fact that the audience had a lot of people we know. So people knew who it was that shouted out.
Yeah, I was like, oh, I forget what I said. I think I blacked out at this moment because I was like,
you were like, thank you, Jonathan.
Pissed.
I think you said something like that. I can't wait to hear the playback.
I was like, and that is my brother. Thank you, Jonathan. He stole my punchline. And I don't know, like, oh God, I was just...
You did great because then you said, so yeah, what I need to have was, and you just picked up the joke and went with it, which was fine.
Just very... Yeah.
It was really funny because nobody...
It was funny. Yeah, it was a funny moment. Looking back, it's funny. But like in the moment, I was like, are you fucking kidding me? Like internally, I just wanted to like scream.
And I was thinking too, in the moment when you recovered really well, and I thought you just kind of played it off very nicely. And you didn't make him feel bad or anything like that, which was great because he was very upset after he thought he was in trouble.
Because I was like, you're not supposed to shout.
yeah, he was crying. But we did recover after that. But I did think, well, this is a moment where anybody in the audience could say something and heckle. And so it was almost like a practice for a potential heckler.
Yeah.
It was. And then, that one of the other guys had somebody that was heckling, and that was even, so at least you didn't have that. You had somebody that was familiar. You were able to mess with.
No, but it was just like, why does this need to happen? I'm a 90s baby, so I grew up mainly in the 2000s when the ideal body type for women was hunger strike chic. And I grew up in an ingredients household. Does anyone know what that is?
Handful of chocolate chips.
That is my brother. Thank you. Stole my punchline. An ingredients household, as Jonathan so eloquently said, is when if I wanted dessert as a child, I would have a handful of chocolate chips and a big fucking scoop of imagination. And then the rest of the set went really well, and it was felt fun. Really good. I felt confident. I didn't feel nervous.
Good.
And it was just really nice afterwards. I don't know. Like the applause. I don't know. Like the end was, I don't know. It just was really fun. I felt so relieved that it was over, but I think more relieved that I have like a positive show under my belt again and not like a bombed show. and I know the second show wasn't a bomb by any means. Like, I got laughs and being very hard on myself and very like perfectionist moment of like being hard on myself.
Yeah, because everybody
that
that went to that one that I knew in LA thought it was great, but they had no reference point.
I know.
So you could
and I feel like
do better.
part of the reason I didn't like the way I looked. I thought like everything was very unflattering, and I was like, oh my god, that's how I like that.
Right. There was a lot of things.
Day.
There was a lot of
it was
things.
just like a lot of things that made it go wrong, and then this just felt.
Well, now that you have this. And it's smooth, kind of it went, as good as it could possibly go, in my opinion.
Yeah.
It was amazing. And now you have this, and you hopefully have this recording. What is your plan moving forward? Are you just? I know I have to ask the plan, but do you have? You visualize more than me. Like I'm a day at a time person. I know you're a planner, so I know you have some things in your mind about what you're thinking, like what, perform more, potentially get paid to perform. Like what, is that like a path that you're excited about? Do you ever see yourself performing maybe in a show? Like, I don't know, some kind of a recorded opportunity. I'm making this up, but.
Yeah. Well, I feel like a lot of things. First of all, it's like the fun thing that I am doing that I hope will like help, I don't know, is documenting the journey on like TikTok and Instagram and really showing, because like, I feel like I've never really seen any comedian. Like I follow a lot of comedians. I've always loved stand-up comedy. I've always loved, I don't know, that kind of thing. And no one's ever really like documented what it's like to be a comedian. So that's also what I'm doing, which I think is helpful to my case.
It will help other people that might want to do it as well.
So I'm doing that. So like, I made a vlog from the day, which I have to post. But I don't know. I signed up for another like class because after doing I did the class, obviously we talked about in the last episode, did the class, and then I'm doing open mics. And what I miss about doing the open mics, this might be just because, I went to art school and I miss like, I don't know. Feedback and having like an environment to like tell the jokes and get like notes in the moment and like talk to other people who aren't like family who are like, that's great.
Right.
And you guys don't do that because like I told you a joke and you're like, oh, that's okay. That's like funny.
Okay, I'm going to tell you the truth.
And it fucking landed. I was wrong. Right. You were wrong.
I was wrong.
So I signed up for another class to do that with like a different teacher who maybe is like more in line with like my style of comedy where it's like, I'm not raunchy.
Right.
I'm like, I don't know what to call my style. Like I'm a storyteller.
Storyteller. I'm not going to relate you to like Seinfeld, but he doesn't do raunchy comedy. He's very funny because it's very relatable. So the things you talk about are like relatable comedies, and it's also personal, which also lands with people because you let them know you.
Now, I can't live without my iPhone. It's in my pocket right now. I don't need it right now, but it's in my pocket. I can't live without my iPhone, but I definitely could live without the reminder of where I was 5 years ago today. I don't know about you guys, but whenever I get one of those, it's like 5 years ago today, you were happy. And it's a picture of me at the zoo, and I'm like, fuck. That dumb bitch didn't know what she had coming. And then I delete the photo to prevent a mental breakdown the next year. I really like the writing aspect. Like, I almost like the writing maybe more. No, I think it's equal. Like, I like the performing. Like, now, I do like the performing aspects. Then it's very, like, rewarding. And I do like the writing. So I'm going to take this next class, keep performing, keep doing open mics. I mean, like, obviously, yeah, it'd be great to, like, get paid to perform and reach for the stars and, I don't know.
I think that you're onto something with this like writing idea, because what I was going to ask you is how much are you like so excited and driven, like you can't wait to perform? Like, are you a person that's just like lives to be in front of the camera and get those laughs, or, I mean, on the stage or whatever? Or do you feel like it's a combination of things? Because you could, when you scroll through and you show me all the things that you've written and you're reading some of them, they're all funny. They can almost be in a little, you could write a book of like, entitled something, and you can put them into categories or whatever. Like, that might be an interesting thing.
I mean, I would love to write a book one day. I've always wanted to write a book, so that's like not off the table.
So maybe that's
I'm just going to see where this takes me.
All
I'm going
right,
to manifest positive growth and I don't know, like doing more shows, bigger audience. Like, obviously, I definitely like performing in more of a club vibe versus like a dinner and side entertainment vibe. And
well, there's good. Now you can ask the questions to the venues when you're applying to.
That's the thing. It's like I've never done. This is my first foray into the entertainment industry after working in like social media So it's definitely different. And I don't know what the path is. Like,
Right.
like I'm just kind of like freaking winging it and like
winging it.
trying to figure it out. I know that I already kind of have like a head start being on social media because it's like I do these shows, I'm meeting these like other pretty like big comedians and they don't have any social media following.
I
And I feel
know.
like nowadays it's almost like you need to have a social media following.
You kinda
'cause then
do,
It's like
yeah.
almost validation for bookers that you can bring in an audience because
Right.
you have a following. So
Well, it's funny too because when everybody, didn't you get an email from the venue to
yeah,
saying
they're like, thank you for the advanced ticket sales. And I was
Yeah.
like, oh, no problem.
This is because she posted on social media and then a bunch of people bought tickets. I mean, that's a part of the game.
Yeah.
And that
so-
you should get a percentage of the proceeds. I'm just saying.
I know I should. That's next.
We got to
Getting
work
commission.
on that. Yeah, I think so. So now let's just talk about how this relates to content creation for you, because obviously you're not going to do your bits in your social media.
Yeah. I don't want to be like, that's the thing. I was thinking about that today, actually. It's like, I don't want to be known as like a TikTok comedian or like a
Okay.
YouTube comedian. Like I'm doing stand up and then I'm posting
Your
the
life
stuff.
Yeah.
But I'm not like, I don't know. I don't do like bits on TikTok of like, the only bits I do on TikTok are pretending to be you.
Oh, yeah.
That's the only bit I do.
It's your best bit.
It's my best bit for social media.
It's such a good bit.
But
You're
I'm not
doing better
like-
than I do me.
But I don't like do skits. And I think it's like hard to do skits because then I don't know.
Well, I think when you find something funny in a situation, like you're at the beach and you're like
Oh my
laughing
God,
at the
yeah.
lifeguards that weren't going to be able to save you because they
they
you
were
know,
scrawny.
Yeah, right. I would never post something like that, but that's right up your alley to post.
And everyone liked it.
Everybody
People
liked
thought it was
was
funny.
good. But I mean, that's the kind of thing, like you find humor in the day to day and you post it on your social
Yeah.
media, but those aren't bits you're performing on stage.
No,
So it's
yeah.
it's like two different lives or two different
Yeah.
sides of your life, which I can appreciate. It's really,
Yeah. Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Okay. So I think in terms of creating content, we are both still in this world of we have to push content out because we're both, we have an audience who is expecting it.
I was going to say one
ahead.
side note about the comedy thing. Alfonso, your doorman. And this has been something that's happened, I think, a few times since I started doing stand-up comedy. Alfonso's like, I saw him and he's like, you're actually funny. And I was like, okay, thank you. He's like, you're usually so quiet. And I was like,
You get that a lot,
That's like
though.
95% of people's reactions when
Yeah.
I tell them I do comedy now. And it's just like, okay, like just because I'm quiet doesn't mean I have no thoughts behind my eyes.
Well, I will say this, what Alfonso maybe didn't have before is he didn't have you on social media before, because I think your
Yeah.
social media self shows us a glimpse into your comedy self. But like meeting you in person, nobody would ever think you're quiet, if you're in a group of people, and you always don't think you are, but you are a little quiet. And
I know I'm quiet.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
don't, I don't have to
Okay.
say I don't think I know I'm quiet.
Okay, well, you are quiet. All right. So my point is, though, like in a social setting, you might be quiet, but if people know you on social media, they think you're more outgoing. And if they haven't met you in person, like a lot of people I know think, oh my God, your daughter's hilarious, because they know you on social media.
Mm-hmm.
But the people that know you in real life and then find out you're doing stand-up comedy, like, oh my God, she's so quiet. You get it? So
Yeah.
it's like your to-camera personality is your comedic self.
Yeah.
And that is separate from, your personal personality, your in-person, your IRL personality.
So funny in person. You're acting
You're
like I'm a
funny with
freaking
people.
hermit.
No, but you're quieter.
I know I'm quieter.
But you're funny the minute we get to know you.
Thank you.
Okay, you're welcome.
Goodness.
Chris, okay? All right. Just make sure.
Funny, goddammit.
All right, so we got that covered. Now, what happens when I'm going to transition right into having content,
Yeah, sorry.
content panic, when we are burned out and tired of posting content, because now you have this new avenue to like start to post.
Yeah.
But when you're in your comedy zone and you're focused on, oh my gosh, I have a performance coming up, you almost can't focus on making
Yeah.
content. So talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, that's kind of what's been happening. And it's also just like I'm using my creative energy in like a different way. So
Okay.
then I don't have any many TikTok ideas because I'm like thinking more about like writing longer format like jokes and stories and bits that like then I don't feel like making content essentially.
Okay. I am going to relate to that.
So I know, and also just because of the show, I haven't like really posted a bunch and then being here, I don't know what happens. It's just it's almost like it's like summer vacation when I come home. So it's like I don't feel like doing not that I don't feel like doing anything, but then I'm like I'm gonna take a break because I'm like on vacation,
Right.
So I don't feel like making it.
Yeah, that
And
is the
it's
difference
also-
when we are together, especially when we're together here. When we're
Yeah.
together in LA,
We make
somehow we're
content.
more
I don't know
focused.
if it's like I don't know what it is.
I don't know.
It's just like harder for some reason, and I don't know what it is, but I don't beat myself up if I don't post for a few days anymore, because I've like had videos after I haven't posted for like 2 weeks get like 1,000 views. And like, I know it's like not like humongous, but it's also like, okay, it's fine.
Right.
And I know, and the hard part is being a social media strategy person. I know being consistent. I know what you got. Like, I know what you have to do to be consistent on social media and like grow. Like, I know what you have to do, but sometimes I just don't fucking feel like it.
Yeah, you don't want to do it.
I already do it for work. Then it's like, for me, I don't feel like turning my personal creative outlet into like a machine.
Yeah.
Like, I just want it to flow.
Yeah. I get it. So I have this very weird thing that just came to my mind as you're talking about when you're focused on a performance. When I'm focused on a production, like if I'm in the midst of right now, I'm helping out with Arisa's job and I'm doing the upcoming directing the Sensodyne stuff. When I'm focused on that stuff, I feel like so much of my creative energies are being spent in that direction.
Yeah.
And not only creative energies, just energies in general, that I almost like, oh my gosh, I don't have like the freedom in my brain to be creative on the social media platforms.
Or like you don't have the energy.
It's
that's the
weird.
biggest thing for me is like when I'm in like a comedy zone, I'm like, I don't have the energy to like dedicate any more creative
Well, I
juices.
have the energy, but I just don't have, like, my juices are spent elsewhere right at the moment. So it's really funny because I haven't really realized this. A lot of times I'll be in the moment, I'm at a shoot, and then I think, oh, let's make a TikTok, but I have to make that effort to remember. Yeah. I have to find time to make today my content. And I push through and put it in my agenda more because I feel more compelled because of the level of following that I have. And I'm like, I have to be out there. I have to be present. I don't want to disappear. What happened last time I disappeared? People were like, what happened to you? And I ended up like, I was going through cancer. You know what I mean? So I don't want to like fall off the earth and then people are worried about me kind of thing. So I feel that I don't feel pressure per se, like it's negative, but I feel obligated. I feel like I've got to do this. Like and I also like it. So there's that. So, but I will say that when I think partly why this all happened was during the pandemic when I had no production and I had no creativity energy flowing in any direction. So all of it went into TikTok and social media and Instagram. And I think that is probably why I'm here today with the following that I have, because I spent all my creative energies in there. It was like exciting. And I'm like, every day was I was thinking of things and what can I do next? And I was like so into it. Yeah. So I still have that feeling of being into it, but I also have that I need to teach people, I need to keep people informed. So I have more of like, I have a responsibility. Yeah. I should say that more than an obligation. I feel like it's more of my responsibility now. Yeah. Because it's like what I am helping people with. And that Mel Robbins TikTok that I love so much about why are you on social media? You're not on social media to please your friends, to please your family, to show off who you are. You are on social media so that the people who need you for whatever your expertise is can find you. Yeah. And I think about that so much now, especially if I have a hesitation about something I'm going to post. I'm like, oh, my family's going to think I'm crazy, when I get into that mode. And then I'm like, that's okay. They can think I'm crazy. They know I'm crazy. It's fine. And I post because I'm not posting for family, friends, neighbors. And, I'm posting because I'm compelled to. I feel like this is my journey. And I think there's people there that need what I have to offer. Yeah. Whether it's for teaching or just for energy or for pure, entertainment. That's what I think that everybody should think about their social media in that way and change the game. And when we teach people, when we give our coaching sessions and we explain to people, don't be so worried about yourself and how people are thinking of you. Think about how you're impacting the people that are watching. Yeah. And who those people are that you can help that are, that wouldn't otherwise be able to find you. Yeah. And I mean, on a separate but slightly, I think it's still related. I posted something the other day because my TikTok, Instagram, social media journey has gone like, it's like a freaking Super Mario Kart race, like so many different levels, stages, phases. It started as a food TikTok, and then I did like more travel stuff, and then it was just like life. And now it's like more comedy. Funny, yeah. But someone had like a really nice comment and was like, I'll shout her out like what Morgan does. That's her handle. People that I follow, I don't know. It's also weird. Side note, taking a tangent, like knowing people on social media. And I'm like, oh, I know what this person does more than like my friends because she's a content creator and she's posting her life. I know what's going on in her life.
but I don't really know
yeah.
as much of what's going on with my friends who are like friends from college or high school or hometown who don't really post on social media. It's like, that's weird. It's like, I almost feel like I know these people better.
It's
than
so
like
true.
those
We know them
people.
day to day better,
Yeah.
you know?
But anyway, she
That's
had a nice, like an interesting comment. It's like, oh, we followed you for like your love of food and like Claire Saffitz, and now we're like here for you on your comedy journey. So I was like, thought that was really nice, but also like I'm not really like necessarily posting for a target audience
Right.
or for like ROI or sales. Like,
Yeah, that's
I'm
a
more
good
posting
thing.
for
That's
myself,
such a
but I
good
think
thing.
also, are you going to cry?
No, that
You
just
look like your eyes
touched
are
me.
watering.
Oh, so do yours.
I'm not.
Oh, that's funny. Well, mine are, but go ahead.
Okay.
I mean, in a way of like good emotion, not like
Yeah.
I'm going to start sobbing or anything like that. That was a really nice comment.
Yeah. So that's like the other side of the coin is like if you're not really trying to like serve an audience, if you're just trying
It's
to.
a lot easier if you're not trying to serve it
It
because
is,
you
yeah,
can just be yourself.
Be yourself. And it's not necessarily like I'm posting just for myself because when we tell people like don't just post for yourself, like no one cares. It's your cousin's like best friend's boyfriend's sister's birthday.
If it's not, yeah.
Like don't post about it, you know? That's different than what I think am doing. It's like I don't know. It's a story.
It is a story. And it's all like, it depends on if what your brand is about at that time.
Yeah.
You know, when you were posting food, you were focused on doing that. And that's what you were loving. And you were doing the baking things and making the recommendations. And now you're on a different path. And it's like, but the people who have grabbed onto you are following your ride wherever you go. Yeah. Which I think is key. I want to just address this thing of like the content blockage and when you're stuck. So I know that this is going to sound like a promo, but it sort of is in a way. But when I get stuck, because I know when we write the creative forecast, the weekly email, you tend to more lean on the trends and then together we come up with the original content ideas. And I'm always focused on what are the social media new things on the apps and the tips. You know, the minute we have threads, I'm putting a tutorial out there. So we have our roles in the creative forecast. So when I am stuck, I actually go and look at like the last 2 weeks of creative forecast and look at what trends you've posted. Because I'm like, oh, she's probably got some easy trends there for me. Mm-hmm. So even though we put it out together, I focus on my part of it, you focus on your part of it. I use your part of it. So thank you.
You're welcome.
All right. So if anybody needs help with that, get the creative forecast, the weekly email. That's like a shameless plug, but it's important.
An important plug.
It is. It's important because it's actually part of why we created it for when you have quote writer's block in the world of social media, and we all have it. That's it. What we are doing with Socialize and how we are slightly changing our journey is we're going to focus more on the creative forecast being a much more broad, useful tool that brings you more things. So it's not just going to bring you 3 trends and 3 content ideas. Now we're taking it further and we're going to keep you abreast of social media app updates, anything new. We're going to post tutorials. When we see something that's trending, we're also going to add the tutorial for you. Mm-hmm. And then we're going to constantly be keeping up with updates. And at some point, we do focus right now on Instagram and TikTok. And so we're even more focused on making sure that we're spreading across all platforms so that we're giving you a lot more content and a lot more options depending on what your favorite platform is. Yay to that. It's like we ended with a commercial. Sorry.
It's okay.
How'd we get there?
I don't know. You brought us on this journey.
I had to bring it up because we're going to change the formula a little bit and I like it.
We updated the website.
Yeah.
We have an ebook.
Mm-hmm.
Lots of fun things. But yeah, the newsletter is going to be our main squeeze, I guess, for the next.
Yeah, it's going to be our main squeeze. And so if you know people that need the help, please send them our way. You can sign up right on our homepage, hellosocialize.com, to get the newsletter. And probably, hopefully most of our listeners are already getting it.
Yeah, that'd be nice.
And maybe we'll have to feature a podcast episode in the middle of one of them soon. All right. Well, I think we covered a lot this week.
Covered comedy, content.
We went for a ride.
Forecast.
We did. We had a fun ride. And I always enjoy it. So thank you for being here with me, Julie. It's getting a little hot in here, so we have to wrap it up. Okay? So we have to turn off the air conditioning to record nice sound for you, but now we're sweating. So it's time to go.
All right.
Yours truly, Helen and Julie. So if you enjoyed the podcast today, please give us a nice review. We would adore you for it. And check out our business together, hellosocialize.com. Hop on the Creative Forecast email list and get all the things you need to make your content journey a lot easier. We know where to find us on social media. I hate to say it, but I'll say it again anyway. At The Mothership with a U for me. And for Julie, it's at Juli Polisi, Julipolise. And lastly, thank you to our producer, Grace, our lovely studio that we enjoy in New York City, with or without air conditioning. We love it. Melrose Podcast Studios. They do have air conditioning. We just shut it off. And our sound engineer, Chris Mueller, is at Chris Mueller 203 on Instagram and TikTok. I'm going to spell it Mueller with the numbers 203. Thank you for being here, and we'll see you next week. Bye.